Good morning. My name is Donna Marie Collins. I am the hearing examiner that will be presiding over this morning's hearing. The case is a zoning modification for Bay Harbor Marina mixed-use plan development. The applicant's representative will describe the request in greater detail during their presentation. My job as the hearing examiner is to take in testimony and evidence and prepare a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, who are the final decision makers in this case. If you would like an opportunity to speak to the Board of County Commissioners at the final hearing, you must participate by entering comments into the record at this level. When you come to the podium, you can speak as long as you would like. I ask that you try to organize your thoughts, though, during the presentation, because you will only be permitted to come to the podium one time. At that time, please ask any questions you have regarding the project, any concerns that you have. I have found oftentimes in these hearings that members of the public are not completely in support or completely in opposition to a project, but they have very specific concerns. If you state them to us, you allow us an opportunity to clarify something, give you more information on it, or to craft a condition that might address your concern. The order of the proceeding will be as follows. The applicant's representatives will present the case. They may have one or more witnesses. After each witness speaks, I may have questions. I might have questions while they speak. If you have questions of that witness, I ask that you make a note so that when it's your time to speak at the podium, you can ask that question. We will take note of all the questions asked during public input, and then when public input is closed, we'll go back to the parties so that they can respond to the questions. Following the applicant's presentation, we will go to the county planner who prepared the staff report. In this case, they will make a brief presentation regarding their staff report and explaining the reasons for their recommendation. I may also have questions of this individual. Following their testimony, that's when I'll open up the floor to members of the public, and I've already explained to you the way that's going to be conducted. Once members of the public have spoken and we come back to the parties, I will ask them to address the questions that were raised, clarify anything that may not have been understood, and they will make closing remarks, and hopefully we'll close the record in this one day, and then I will have between 4 and 6 weeks to prepare a recommendation to the board. The board's on break during the month of July. There's a chance this final board hearing may be at the end of August, but it's probably more likely going to be September, because we have zoning cases that are already in the hopper, and that may fill their agenda, just so that you can plan ahead. I think the earliest this would go before the board would be the end of August, and more likely in September. All testimony and evidence that I accept during these hearings must be taken in under oath, so I'd like to administer the oath to everyone in the room that intends on speaking on the record at one time. If you please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony and evidence you enter into the record will be the truth?
I do.
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. I'm ready to begin.
Good morning, Madam Examiner. For the record, James Inc. I have been deemed an expert in plan, land development code, civil engineering in this venue before, with over 45 years of experience, and wish to continue that at your pleasure.
Please proceed.
What you see before you this morning is a zoning modification to an existing zoning. It's DCI 2023-00023, Bay Harbor Marina Village Mixed Plan Development, under ordinance today, under ordinance Z-16-01A. Our team, owner developer, Bay Harbor Marina Village, Marco Brahman, Jack Mayer. Jack is with us this morning. Myself as the planning and civil engineering part. Yuri from TR Transportation is here. He will not be part of the presentation unless you have specific questions, and he will be more than happy to do that. Our architecture is done by Kevin Williams of GHC, which used to be BSSW. Now they're GHC. organization. Landscape architecture, innovation design, they're not here, but some of their presentation is here. And construction, since this facility is under construction right now for what's been previously approved. Christel Construction, Howard Wheeler. So that's what makes up our development team. Current conditions, we're a 7.5 acre site. You have to look back a little bit, but Madam Examiner has seen this case before. Been quite a few years. It's 7.5 acres on Main Street, St. Carlos Island. It's under Central Urban. It has an MPD, as I mentioned. We do have a current development order, D06-2006. The project started in 2006, and you can see remnants of the actual foundation that was there, got hung up in the economic crisis. It delayed, through a series of executive orders by the governor. We kept it alive. And then we came back and did Amendment 01 to tweak the marina. So we're currently under construction under the special exception that was done many, many years ago for the marina. I'm not sure you were part of that. I don't remember, but that was quite a while ago that we did a special exception for the marina. We're under construction for the marina portion. We have a building permit for starting the barn.
Pardon me, for starting what?
Sure. Starting the dry storage building of the marina.
Thank you.
Yes, sorry. I put fence permit on here, which seems a little odd, but we have an open code violation because we got a little ahead of ourselves, put a construction fence in, didn't have a permit, got a code violation. We're cleaning that up right now with the fence permit. So I just wanted to disclose that right out front, so in your research you don't find, you find the code violation and this understands why. We got ahead of ourselves, we're cleaning that up. We have an environmental resource permit to build the marina. It is a DEP permit, which I don't know if the med examiner's aware, but when you do a marina, they did not delegate it to the water management district, so it comes from DEP.
And what is the year of that permit?
2006, and it's valid till 2027. As we do, if this is successful, or if we build the residential units part of the approved zoning, we will have to modify that when we do a DO. So that's what sits in the ground today. And the current approval, just to go through it of what it was, we had to go through a lot of proceedings to get to where we are, and a lot of steps, and we were here a couple times and the board a couple times and various other legal avenues and such, but we're approved for 7.47 acres for an MPD for 75 dwelling units, a marina with 286 dry slips, 29 wet slips, a boat launching facility, 30,000 square feet of commercial retail office space, 20,000 square feet of civic space, and a maximum building height of 100 feet with tiered step backs. In the approved, and we'll go through that, but in the approved master concept plan today, there's multiple sheets that shows how the buildings and the setbacks and heights and all was to work. There were 25 conditions and 9 approved deviations. And this was adopted in 2020. So we have been moving forward. We've cleared all of the hindrances that we had before. We've hired an architect. We're now into real design development. What you see today is not conceptual. It is what we're planning to do. So the request, and again, it's very narrow, is to amend Z-16-010A, Bay Harbor Marina Village Mixed Use Plan Development, to revise the master concept plan and the development regulations and amend the schedule of uses to add a hotel motel to the mixed use building and add multifamily building to the schedule of uses for the townhome tract. That's what's listed as our request statement. We've recently expanded it because there was a little bit of the COP irregularities, and when we got the staff report, we noticed that there was something that wasn't quite there of what we were thinking and what staff was thinking. So in the last couple days, we've added that in. I have sent staff the information. They have looked at it. I don't know if they support it or not support it, but we're going to discuss that this morning, the minor tweak to the COP. So, like I said, this is a very narrow ask. We're asking to add a hotel use to the mixed-use building. We're asking to add multifamily to what is approved as townhomes today because of a definition design issue. Is multifamily means something totally different than townhomes in the land development code. So we're asking for that, and we're asking for a change in condition 10 COP. So all we're asking for. Everything else in the entire document stays exactly the way it is today.
So there's no change in the number of dwellings?
Now, this is allow me to say that the 240 hotel units will replace the 55 approved dwelling units in the mixed-use building. We're approved for 75 dwelling units today. We have 20 on the canal in townhomes, and we have 55 in the mixed-use building. What we're asking for is to add hotel to the mixed-use building with a maximum of 240 rooms. You get one or the other. You don't get both.
And that will replace how many?
That will replace 55 residential dwelling units.
55 of the 75 that are approved.
Correct. The 20 on the canal in the townhome multifamily stay the same. Those units stay, they haven't moved. So we're only looking at the west side of the mixed-use building and what it becomes. 55 residents or 240 hotel rooms.
And if it's less than 240 hotel rooms, is it less dwellings that are vanquished, or is it definitely, it's going to be 240?
We would really like 240.
Okay.
I mean, we're far enough down the road that we know we want a hotel.
I see.
If we're unsuccessful here, then yes, we still have our 75 units. But we really believe we've got a substantial case to say that the 240
So the
works.
hotel is an option. It's not a replacement.
It's not a replacement.
If it is developed, then it would replace up to 55 dwellings.
It will replace up to 55 dwelling units.
Okay.
And then the request would, as we talked about, is it would allow for construction of 20 flat multifamily instead of townhomes. Definition, townhomes is vertical, 25-foot wide buildings, 3 stories tall, your brownstones up north in the northeast. Multifamily allows you to do flat plate units stacked on top of each other. That's all the request is, this or that. Expand and define the consumptive use that I talked about through modification of condition 10, and retain the structure of the ground level ship store. In our original plan, this little house that's there was to be demolished, but we have found over the years that it's ideal for the harbor master office and ship store amenities right there.
Is this an existing building?
Yeah, it's an existing little house from 50 years ago.
Can we go back to the aerial?
It's that blue roof right at the corner. It was a sales center when it was a sales center when it was Compass Rose Marina under construction back in the day.
I'm familiar with the building.
Yeah, and it survived Hurricane Ian with just some water damage. It had to be drywall and stuff like that, but nothing was wrong with the building. It actually survived. What this request does not do is we're not changing any setbacks, any heights, anything that affects the mass of the building. It does not change or modify any of the approved deviations, 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 13. 10 is not there. That's the COP that we are going to ask to be modified, and the others are all were withdrawn in the original case. So they're just not there. and it does not change any of the approved conditions 4 through 25. As the examiner knows, 1, 2, and 3 is like schedule of uses and the requests and the property development regulations. Those have to be tweaked with what we're asking to change the schedule of use to add
1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3. 4 through 25, all of those operations, noise, this, that, and the other, they all stay the same. So getting into the actual project, here is the approved concept plan that it has a mixed-use building, which is the larger area there in color. And then the townhomes that you can see was just big, long row of homes on the canal. And it had the marina, it had all of that part. You can see the COP that was approved on the top of the barn outside a dining establishment up at the 70-foot level. So that's what was approved there. And I'm going to put them side by side in a minute, but I'm going to show you the big picture first. This is what we're talking about today, is the hatched area is a COP area, so you can see it expanded quite a bit. I did not change the amenity area down along Main Street, which is the kids' playground. That's the part that staff and I came up with that we didn't show correctly. That says amenity feature down on the bottom area. I'll go into that detail in a couple minutes. But that's a COP, that's a barn. This, the barn has got the COP on top of it now. And the darker color is the actual hotel footprint. So you can see that I colored it different things because that's all different elevations and different levels in the concept plan. When you do your review, you'll see that part. So side by side, you can see the buildings are pretty much the same. We were able to step back away from Main Street some of the height, so we get a little bit of the impact that, as approved today, we've lessened that. And the villas now, you can see, instead of a big old long row of townhomes, is now that more yellowish is 3 buildings. They're essentially 6 buildings, but 2 of them are joined together. So it's actually 3 buildings, and now you got a little bit more green space. You got some view corridors that go between, so it creates a better design, a better footprint, a better product, and also a better aesthetically landscaped area. The amenity down at Oak and Main Street is all still the same size. The forklift operation's the same size. The internal traffic loop is a little bit different, but essentially it comes out in the same place and you have a loop all the way around. So in massing and operations, externally it's exactly the same with our request. This shows you that tiered step back that I mentioned a little bit earlier. They're not quite to the same scale, but the top is what's approved that shows the height step backs, and the bottom is where we are today. The angle has lessened. It's not as steep as what's currently approved today, so we have stepped it back, so from the street it's visually better. Our new plan also shows where it says parapet railing. Since we're asking, well, we actually have approval, but to activate the above the dry storage barn, we've got to put a railing around that area, and we show that as the height limitation of our building. Going to the villas, to show you the comparison, is on the left is what's currently approved, and you've got 400 or 500 feet of townhomes that we did back then. Well, that's not conducive to the market. It's not conducive to good design. It's not conducive to a lot of things. So we've come back and we've done the flats, and we've created the flat villas, and that rendering that you see is Kevin's design. That is where we are today in design development. Not that there won't be some changes as we get to construction drawings, but that is the concept.
Is parking underneath the building?
Parking underneath the building. So we get out of flood, you know, we accommodate those things so they have their own parking underneath the building. Again, a cross-section of what's currently approved for the villas and what's proposed, exact same mass. It's the same living areas, it's the same parking underneath, it's essentially the same mass of the building, it's just we've now separated them and we've turned them into flat units. Here we'll go through and we'll talk about some of the entrances. As we're here, we're kind of elevated so you can really get a feel of what's there, but we're down, I would say Dock Ford's Gulf Star Marina, looking back across Main Street, and you come in this drive and this is the entrance of the hotel. This is all the hotel over on this side, on the opposite side of the barn, a few floors above the barn. The barn itself is this structure. It still comprises the majority of the square footage under roof, and then you can't really see it, but the villas are out there. Down front we have our liner building, the boat forklift operation, and then our little harbor master house that's staying. So that's a view of what's there. You can see the pool up on the 7th deck for the hotel residents. And I mentioned that we want to activate on top of the barn. We don't have these updated because that part is still conceptual, but you'll see in a minute. Now we've kind of swung around down over top of Trico, down a little bit farther down Main Street, so you can see the other side, and you can see the barn, you can see the hotel, which is just a few floors above the barn, and now you can see how the villas here interact with the facility. The amenity green space is all down in here. Continuing around, we're now up on the northeast part, looking back to the southwest, looking back towards the Sky Bridge. Again, this just shows the hotel, parking underneath, parking garage underneath, hotel is on a podium, and the barn and the villas, part of it. And last but not least, we'll go look at the southeast view that again shows the part of the hotel from that standpoint. So you can see it's a very lots of nooks and crannies, lots of elevation, lots of relief. It's not just this big field house, stadium, arena kind of thing that I think in the early days some people thought we were going to do. Amenity complex that I mentioned earlier. This is in the schematic stage, but we're working through what to do. And you're looking at the site plan again. And this is that hotel pool up on the 7th level on that side. But what we're looking at and why we want to expand COP is we want to activate the barn. You've got this big building, you got about 1.5 acres of roof. And it's being a hotel resort. Let's activate it. Let's bring in some things that are potential lazy river, pools, decks, green areas, you know, make it a park-like feel for resorts and potential day guests that could come and experience this. Still operating under the hours operation and the sound and those items that's currently in the conditions. We're not changing anything. And then down on the ground level, this area, we're looking at doing a kids playground and then our civic space right in this area that meets our civic space requirement. I'm gonna go through it more. I got a better picture of just that we can talk about, just that ground level under the COP part. So that's the amenities that we're looking at as part of the hotel. Going through the consumption on premises and what we're asking to change is, right now we have outdoor open dining on the top of the barn at the front as part of the restaurant that's inside the building that was approved today and was planning on being there. But with the hotel, we would like to expand to pick up the pool area on the 7th floor, which should probably have been in the original concept because you knew you were going to do a pool somewhere. And all this rooftop that we looked at. And then what's not shown that'll show up on this little side graph is this area right here, which this third graphic right here kind of blows that up a little bit. And it shows this kids' play area, and it shows our public civic space that we're required to do under the conditions today. And actually, we're required only 20,000 square feet, and this plan has 25. So that's where the public has access. The public can go. It will be secured, but it will be available to just public access, so they can go down and see the water, and they can have a park-like feel, and they can do that part. So it will be, if this plan holds, it'll be gated here, and you can get in, but it will be secure, such that not to just allow anybody to wander in and camp out or do some other nefarious things.
Associated with that?
The parking, we have a parking garage that has public parking spaces. So you would have to park in the parking, or you would have to, if you were a resident, you could walk up and get into that area if you actually biked or walked to get there. Now, the consumption on premise that we are requesting here, which requires a modification to condition 10 or deviation 10. This is the kids' playground, and our thought is that the kids are playing there in the splash pool, on the jungle equipment, all of that kind of stuff, and you're staying at a resort and you're watching your kids as an adult. It probably would be nice to have an adult beverage and be able to have it while you're sitting there. That's all the intent of what's going to be there. Maybe a small pool hotel bar, but it's not going to have really any seating area. It's not going to be a bar. It's just going to be a way to stay legal, that you can have a drink sitting on the bench, sitting on a couple tables that might be there while you watch your kids play. That's the whole intent of this.
And is that area open to the public?
That area is not open to the public. It will be controlled access. So you're either a resident, or, as in a lot of resorts, there's potential of having day passes for anybody that wants to come and have a day pass to come down and spend the day at the resort. Not unlike what Margaritaville is. And that area, I mean, it's not the pool, but if you've been to Margaritaville and they've got the pool on the Gulf side, right when you walk in off of Stara Boulevard, they got a pool bar right there. And you just walk in. I know that's in the town of Fort Myers Beach, but that's kind of the feel of what we're looking at, is you would have the ability to buy a drink. It reminds me of one, I stayed at a resort somewhere, and they took an old Volkswagen van and converted it into a bar, and they could just close it up, but then they would open it up and they would serve some beverages to the guests of the facility.
Residents and guests.
Residents and guests. So, I mean, that's what the intent is. We've made an attempt to craft a revision to condition 10, but this is kind of a just happened, so some guidance and some other part would be accepted to get what we need to do to get to our intent and not overstep what we're stating that we're going to use it for. Here we blew it up a little bit so you can see that we have sidewalks. This is probably gated, but this is how the public would go. This area down here would be the more restricted access, and in today's world, you got your key fobs on your little wristbands. You know, if you're a resident, you can get through the gate. If you're not a resident, you can't. So that's the control of what's there. You see, it's mostly just shade structures and splash areas and little fountainy kind of things with a few tables. It's not designed to be a sandbar bar where lots of people are going to congregate. That's what the intent of that little corner is. But it goes back to, if you're watching your kids, it'd be real nice to have a Mai Tai or a Rum Collins or something like that while you're sitting there watching your kids play. Current deviation, this is the one that we're asking to do, is it allows for consumption will not be visible from adjacent park or residential dwelling units. Furthermore, the service and operation of uses will be limited to the commercial hours and amplified music listed in conditions 5 and 10, which will remain. We're not asking to change those. And what I've added in the bottom was just to keep it real simple, add in a ground level amenity is allowed to have COP, and that the ground level amenity shall be secured and shielded from the outside view. I kept it real simple. Maybe your guidance to further that, to restrict our intent, could be warranted there. I just was trying to keep it very, very simple. Traffic is what I'll speak on traffic. Like I said, if you want to drill down to traffic, we have Yuri here that can defend his complete traffic impact. But the real key part here is this is the comparison between resort hotel and what's approved today. And AM, PM peak hours, we have de minimis additional traffic. When you're talking 289 traffic and you're adding 25, that's less than 10%. It's de minimis. And the report defends that level of service stays the same. All of those items stay the same. It doesn't impact it other than there's a few more cars. We just wanted to point out that there's a few more cars than what's approved today. And this is as approved, daily two-way, 4,000 trips. As amended, 3796. So still, it's less than what's approved today if you count aggregate all the cars in a 24-hour period. So I just wanted to put that in the record, and as I said, if you want to drill down into the actual details, that's not me, and that'll be Yuri.
So peak hour, there's a 26 total increase. Off-peak hour or total, there's a reduction.
Correct. Okay. And that's why we look at that as a de minimis change through the statistics. So going with all that, that's the presentation. Now we'll get into the actual what we have to comply with of the rezonings right out of the Land Development Code, that it complies with the LEED plan. And I am prepared to go through all the policies, or at your pleasure, if you want to take my narrative that's already in the record and go through it, we can do it either way.
I think you should make a record.
Okay. So we have, I don't have a graphics for it, so we'll have to do it the old school way. We have policy 1.1.3, which is central urban future land use category definition. And in that, it allows residential, commercial, public, quasi-public, and limited light industrial. Our only change is we're introducing hotel. The multifamily townhome is still considered residential, so that's not a change from policy. So we're adding a hotel, which is in the commercial and is allowed in central urban future land use. Objective 2.1, development location, continuous compact growth patterns will be promoted through the rezoning process to contain urban sprawl, minimize energy costs, conserve land, water, and natural resources, minimize the cost of services.
Mr. A, please read a little slower.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, can you just pause for a minute? I need to take a note. Thank you.
Okay, we're on objective 2.1. I'm gonna slow down. Contiguous and compact growth patterns will be promoted through the rezoning process to contain urban sprawl, minimize energy costs, conserve land, water, and natural resources, minimize the cost of services, and prevent development patterns where large tracts of land are bypassed in favor of development more distant from services and existing communities. We are an infill project. We're right in the middle of San Carlos Island. We've got development all around us. The project is already approved for 75 dwelling units. All we're doing with this amendment is introducing a hotel. Other than that, the townhome villas and the COP part is not really germane to the development location. Policy 2.2.1, rezoning and DRI proposals will be evaluated as to the available and proximity to the road network, central sewer, water lines, community facilities, and services, such as schools, EMS, fire, and police protection, and other public facilities. Compatibility with surrounding land uses, and any other relevant facts affecting the public health, safety, and welfare. Again, we're approved, we have water, we have sewer, we have an active development order to build the marina part. We have all the letters in the file.
So the hotel is the new use.
It's not a use, so I can't build a hotel today.
Right, so that's the new use.
That's the new use.
And
So
the other hotels approved at the end of Main Street?
that's what I was just, you're one step ahead of me.
All right.
The end of Main Street, we've got Ebb Tide, which I think is called Marina Preserve today. I think they rebranded it. It is approved for a 450-room hotel and 80,000 square foot convention center. And as part of that, it's got the 5 230-foot tall towers. That's got zoning. That's that future land use that has the word none of us know how to pronounce, the destination resort, mixed-use development, whatever. And also, and I'm not sure you did it, but we approved within the last year another hotel on San Carlos where the old fishmongers was. Right there by Buttonwood when you cross the bridge. That did that public hearing to get that rezoned to allow a hotel.
And that's right on San Carlos?
San Carlos Boulevard on the southwest corner of Buttonwood and San Carlos.
That was my case.
I thought we did that. So that's a Hampton Inn style, 100 rooms or something like that. So we have hotels in the neighborhood. Objective 4.1, water, sewer, and environmental standards. Consider water, sewer, and environmental standards during the rezoning process. Ensure the standards are met prior to issuing a local development order. We have a local development order for the marina. So we have water and sewer services that are there. The hotel will put additional impact into the infrastructure. We have not done that math yet, but as with everything that's there, if we need to do an extension or something like that with the water, that will be done. And it's also, to back up and note right now, one of the conditions we have is we have to rebuild Main Street from Oak to San Carlos. That is one of our current conditions. So we're going to rebuild that section of roadway. And Marina Preserve down the street, the old Ebb Tide, they have to rebuild the roadway from theirs to San Carlos. So really, who comes first gets to build the road. But they have an active development order to do that. So we have water, we have sewer that's there.
So where's Oak?
Oak is the street just to the east of our project.
Okay, thank you.
It borders the park, the amenity feature park area as it goes up there. And then you've got 3-4 streets of, residential collection of mobile homes being replaced with single family and that type. It's a redeveloping community. Unfortunately, Hurricane Ian may have accelerated some of that, but it's going to be redeveloped into single family or continue where it can.
So the project is responsible for bringing Main Street up to county standards from San Carlos to Oak.
Correct.
And that will provide room for utilities and all sizing to accommodate your
We're in
project.
conversations with Lee County Utilities right now of how to do that and what that means. The sewer collection system is fine. It's adequate. It's there. Gravity sewer system for everything. We don't have to do lift stations. We don't have to do that. If there's any suspect area, it's the demand on the water line. If you count us and you count down the street at Marina Preserve, then that water line may or may not be sufficient. But that just, traditionally, that all gets worked out in the development order stage.
And you're saying Ebb Tide now goes by Marina Preserve?
Yes, if you go look on LoopNet, it's for sale, as it's been for sale since they got it approved. They just rebranded it recently.
Okay.
Okay, policy 5.1.5. Protect existing and future residential areas from any encroachment of uses that are potentially destructive to the character and integrity of the residential environment. That's the main part. I won't read the rest of it. Go back to where we are. We're approved for 75 dwelling units. We want to eliminate 55 of those in lieu of a 240-room hotel use, which by traffic standards says in aggregate there's going to be less traffic, AM/PM de minimis increase. Other than that, the project stays the same. And if you go to traffic, one point that I don't know if I said, but I'll restate it if I already did. FDOT has a improvement program for the bridge, for San Carlos and the bridge and the Times Square corner that is supposed to start construction soon. And in that program, they're adding a signalization light at Main Street and San Carlos. So from a traffic standpoint, when that gets done, which we have no impact in, but no control over, that's an obvious betterment to traffic flow. So the encroachments that we have, we think that this is, we've actually mitigated it some by going to the flat units on the villas and changing the design, creating some view corridors. We actually think we've lessened the approved impact today. That impact was mitigated with buffering along the canal, landscaping and buffering, which remains. And we think we've taken the building to lessen that impact to the surrounding area. We've stepped back the main mixed-use building, and it has a more laid-back approach. It looks farther off the street than it did. So that's another lessening the impact of what's approved today. So we think we're consistent with policy 515 from where we are today. And that's the way we're looking at this case is when the zoning was approved, we can't, you can't well, I guess you could, but you don't reopen and go all the way back and start arguing points that were in dispute years ago. We have a zoning today. We're modifying that zoning. That's what we're asking. Policy 6.1.6, the land development regulations will require that commercial development provide adequate and appropriate landscaping, open space, and buffering. I think I'll back up. You can see on my, let me get this one. This is good because now we use color a lot more. You can see how much green we have versus how much browns and yellows we have. We have a lot of green space, a lot of open space. We actually have a bit more than we had with the original development.
So the open space table is amended to reflect greater acreage in open space?
Yeah, it's not big, but it is greater than what it was. I mean, we tried to maximize it as much as it can. Most of it is in the front yard. Because you can see right here, this is a lot closer than that. We pushed that back. So that we've done that, so we think we're consistent with the open space and buffering and appropriate landscaping. As a resort, it's also going to have enhanced landscaping. That's just inherent with a hotel type resort, is you want an active and pleasing environment for your residents and for your hotel visitors to experience. So we feel that we're consistent with policy 616. Objective 8, existing marinas, fish houses, port facilities indicated on the future land use map as having water dependent overlay zones will be reclassified by the county to commercial, industrial, marine zoning categories. That one was asked and answered back in the original zoning. We went through that. We're not changing that. I mean, I put it in here because some of these, I don't remember which one, staff asked for the questions and we put it in there. The overlay is still exactly the same as what it was in the original zoning case. We're still a marina. We just got some other uses attached to it. Goal 11, mixed use. Encourage mixed use developments that integrate multiple land uses, public amenities, utilities at various scales and intensity in order to provide diversified land development, variety of housing, greater connectivity between housing, workplace, retail, businesses, and other destinations. So this is mixed use. We have a marina, we have commercial, we have civic space, we have residential, we have hopefully a hotel. It has a lot of different uses that it meets the requirement of being defined as a mixed-use development. Policy 11.1.2, residential densities may be calculated for the entire project. With the hotel use, that's in the land development code, that's not considered density, so we're actually lessening the density from 75 to 20 if this is approved. So our density is actually going down from what's approved today. Policy 32.1.2, new development and substantial redevelopment within a portion of the urban community land use category on San Carlos Island will be subject to additional requirement that within a water-dependent overlay zone, wet or dry storage, recreational or marinas, or other water-dependent uses only will be permitted. In the overlay zone, that's where the marina is. The hotel is not in an overlay zone. The dwelling units today are not in an overlay zone. That was debated and argued in the original zoning case. What we're asking for today does not change that in any way. Policy 32.2.1, as part of the transit design process, the county will consider ways to establish pullovers, turnoffs for pickups, discharge of passengers from all trolley and mass transit vehicles, and requiring that such pickups and discharge be done only at specific transit stops. We have been talking to Lee Tran for a while as one of our conditions. We have a bus stop. We're not on a route, but we show a bus stop in front of our project. We also have a condition that we have to do a water taxi, which we are working on. So there's going to be a water taxi that will take people to Baldwin Point, Main Street, Old San Carlos in the town, and hopefully various other places. Jack and I have been working on this trolley or this water taxi as something that could expand into something more than what's required here, but that's still just in the preliminary design stages. We have to meet that requirement regardless of what that is. We have to have where our residents can go by water and go to where they want to go, that you can get to by water. So that part is not changing, so we think we're consistent with policy 32.2.1. Policy 32.2.4, sidewalks, bike paths, and mass transit routes must be designed to be convenient and safe for all recreational facilities in the areas. We are very integrated in this project with lots of sidewalks that go in between and connect. We have the bus stop, we have the water taxi, so we do meet this policy. Goal 37, level of service standards. Establish and maintain specific transportation and level of service standards. The TIS that's in the application demonstrates that the level of service is acceptable today. It was acceptable when it was first rezoned with the hotel, as we just showed in the summary graphic. It shows that we are a de minimis little bit of peak hour increase and overall less cars per day than what's approved today. So we're still consistent with that. Policy 60.1.1, required design of surface water management systems to protect and enhance the groundwater. We have a permit for a surface water management system on the site. You do not see any lakes per se. There's some open area detention areas. The vast majority of our quantity storage by permit is underneath the boat barn, done typically in dry storage barns that underneath where the boats sit on the rack. You take that space and you create storage volume. We have that in our permit today, and it doesn't change. And even though it's just for the barn today, contemplating we were going to do something additional back in 2005, whenever I did it, we added in some extra storage so that we can add more impervious. There used to be a mini storage barn on the site, a mini warehouse, that was 25,000 square feet or something. That's obviously been not included in this plan, and it's actually been gone. So we contemplated that, so we don't see any issues with being able to stay consistent with that policy. Goal 62, solid waste. Ensure the health, safety, general welfare of the citizens of Lee County by protecting the quality of the environment through the proper management and disposal of solid waste. We're already working with the county up in the northeast corner. We have a solid waste area. We're looking at that area through the design of the barn to do a compactor type setup for the hotel that then is picked up by solid waste. So there's not anything abnormal about how solid waste will be picked up. Goal 77, development design requirements. To require new development to provide adequate open space for improved aesthetic appearance, visual relief, environmental quality, preservation of existing native trees, plant communities, and the planting of required vegetation. There's no native trees on the site except one oak tree that's in the right-of-way that right now we're trying to save. May not, but we're trying to save the one oak tree. everything about what we've done, the visuals that Kevin has done in the design is attractive. The thing about aesthetic appearance is it's in the eye of the beholder. Some people will like it, some people may not. But we meet this requirement for aesthetic appearance, visual relief, and environmental quality. Objective 101.2, limitation of public expenditures in coastal areas. This is where the county wants to have a goal or objective that limits spending public money on roads and sewer and the like. Well, we're building Main Street for them, and the water and the sewer is already there. So to do this project, there's no public expenditures required at this point. So we're consistent with Objective 101.2. Policy 101.3.2, restrict development in a coastal high hazard area to uplands except as needed for the provision of public facilities. Well, we're not building in the wetlands. And actually by this change, going to a hotel versus dwelling units, when it gets into a storm event, the operator of the hotel has more powers to require evacuation than if it's a resident. Residents tend to stay. This building will be a 2024 design, so it's about as best as you can get to being resistant to hurricanes, but that evacuation that we discussed about years ago and that part, hotel is, they gotta go. You know, it's a resident, you can't make them leave. So in that way, from the coastal high hazard area and impacts, we think we're in a better place. Policy 101.3.5, an applicant of a development order for any permanent or temporary places of residence, including but not limited to, and there's a lot of things, but it says hotels or motels, and dwelling units within the hurricane vulnerability zone must provide appropriate mitigation as determined by Lee County Department of Public Safety, which may include and not limited to payment and fee construction. That is a condition that we have right now. We've got like a half a page that addresses that, and we're not changing that. So that's been asked and answered, that we're either going to have to harden some areas to a certain level of storm, or at emergency management's pleasure, write a check. And they'll build a shelter somewhere. But it's their determination, not ours. We'll do whichever they decide. Policy 125.1.2, new development and additions to existing development must not degrade surface or groundwater quality. There'll be no impact to this change to groundwater. I mean, it's a building, and whether you put people in it that own it or you put people in it that spend the night, it's still a building. It still impacts everything the exact same way. Objective 128.4, marina facility siting criteria. Staff asked us to add this one, but the marina doesn't change. We're a marina. We're building a marina.
Approved, and that's not.
It's already approved. It's not applicable. And that goes with Objective 128.5, marina design criteria 2. We've already done that. We have a DO. We've already been through that. So that's my analysis of the Lee plan part. So we still got a little ways to go. We showed with what I just went through that we comply with the Lee plan. B, meets this code or other applicable county regulations or qualifies for deviations. Again, this is very straightforward asks that were before you. Is we've shown that a hotel is an allowable use in the comp plan. Hotel is an allowable use in the use regulation table for planned developments. We're just adding for that hotel to be there, and we've provided evidence that the impacts of a hotel in lieu of the 55 residential units is not a detrimental impact to the community. It's compatible with existing and planned uses in the surrounding area. It's basically what I just said. Will provide access sufficient to support the proposed development intensity. I've testified that we have water, we have sewer, we have transportation. We're not overly impacting any of those. E, the expected impacts on transportation facilities will be addressed by existing county regulations and conditions of approval. We covered the fact that the water line may need some help, but that's still not abnormal and is always handled at the development order stage in this case. We have water. Do we have enough? We think so, but we're not sure because we haven't finished the design of a hotel structure, so we know what the water demand and how it impacts. We have fire flows, we have all that stuff, so we have information to do that, but we're not quite through with that part yet, but that's all at a development order stage. Will not adversely affect environmental, critical, or sensitive areas, natural resources. We're not changing anything that affects that. Will be served by urban services defined in the Lee plan if located in a future urban area category. We've talked about that. We have water, we have sewer, we have the sheriff, we have EMS, the fire department, all of that has letters in the file that they can provide service to us. And then further in the land development code, if it's a planned development, you must also find that the proposed use or mixes is appropriate at the proposed location. Again, hotel, we got a hotel twice the size further down the street that's allowable by right. We got a hotel that's half the size at the old fishmonger site. So on San Carlos Island, it's evident that hotel use is what's there. Everything else, the COP and the Villa Townhome amendments that we're looking at, they don't affect that. The recommended conditions provide sufficient safeguards to the public interest and are reasonably related to the impacts on the public interest expected from the proposed development. Not much has changed from the outside to the public. The hotel will have different comings and goings, traffic-wise a little bit less, but different patterns, different comings and goings of what we sit today that's already approved. I would expand this to deviation 10, which talks about the consumption on premises and the expansion of it up on the rooftop where it already exists. We're just making it larger, and whether mom and dad can have a drink while the kids play. That's really the bottom line of what we're asking. If the applicant includes deviations pursuant to section 34-373-A9, that each requested deviation, 1, enhances the achievements of the objectives of the plan development, and 2, protects the public health, safety, and welfare. We think we comply with both of those. We're real sensitive to. We have our civic space that's on the ground level, that's close to the community on Oak and Main Street on that corner, that has access to the water, has access to some park-like areas, secured, as I said, to keep it from being used by people who shouldn't be there when they shouldn't be there. And the rest of it is pretty much the same. All the deviations are the same, except for the consumption on premises. And D, mine related, that laundry list, we're not a mine. With that, that concludes our presentation and opens it up for any questions that you might have. I would ask that with the public that's here, and we're going to have a lengthy, public input, that we have a recess after the public so we can go through our notes and come up with a proper rebuttal and summary.
Yes, that would be fine. I'm going to take a brief recess now for 10 minutes before we start the staff's presentation, so the court reporter can take a break, and we'll resume at 10:25.
I know I was a little lengthy.
Before staff presentation, I have a few questions of them.
Oh, okay. The
yeah.
staff has questions of the applicant.
Okay.
Want me to ask him now?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Oops. want to go back to this. For the past several months, we had many meetings and discussed this project. And this new amenities area, you sent it to us this week or end of last week. We hadn't reviewed. And my question is, you said this area, this lazy river and all,
Yes.
is for the hotel guests and people with day passes.
When I said and, it was typical of resorts. They have day passes where you could pay a fee and you can come use the facilities for the day.
But what I'm trying to get at, your traffic impact does not include people coming there just to use the pool. So that may be additional trips that we are adding, and it's not included in your TIS. Parking-wise, I believe you have like 200 extra parking spaces. I don't believe it's gonna be a problem, but for traffic, I'm not sure if your traffic impact included additional people coming just to use the amenities, number one. Number two, the playground area downstairs. You have required 20,000 square feet of civic space open to the general public.
Correct.
And you are required to have an easement to allow people to access that.
Okay.
What I heard is gonna be gated and secured. What is gonna make people not to be discouraged from using it if they are coming and they see a secured area, gated area? How would they know that they have the right to be there? How are they gonna open the gate to get in?
We would have signage on that one specifically. We go back and forth about that. It's civic space. And if it's desired, it's not fenced and it's open and anybody can come and go at any day, time of the day. We don't think that's wise for the community. But we'd like to secure it, but still they know that they can go there at their pleasure for no fee.
Conditions saying that the gates must be open from sunrise until
Can
an
be.
hour after sunset, something
Can be.
like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, we just don't want people utilizing it at 3 a.m. in the morning.
And regarding the liquor license for liquor consumption downstairs, I'm gonna talk about it
Okay.
when I make my presentation. That's all I
Okay.
want to add.
Would you like us to address the lazy river? I don't know if Yuri can address that. I don't know how we would quantify that because a resort hotel in ITE has a multitude of uses as a traffic generator, and day passes are in resort hotels. That's a very common use, and that's why its traffic generation is different than, there's 2 or 3 other,
Hotel,
I mean,
you
Yuri
gave
may
us the
need to
number
speak
of
to this.
rooms and basically saying this many rooms generate this much traffic. But that did not include people who don't stay in those rooms. They just come there for a day to.
Okay, hang on. How about we have Yuri come testify?
Yeah, I want Yuri to come up and
Because
explain
if
that.
there's this different trip generation for flat hotel versus resort hotel, then he can illuminate this subject for us.
Good morning. For the record, Yuri Baika with your transportation consultants. I've been sworn in and previously accepted as an expert in transportation planning.
Please proceed.
So as part of our traffic analysis, we analyze this as a resort hotel. And that's based on IT Land Use Code 330, which is different from a typical hotel because a lot of guests would really come and stay and use the amenities on site. But as part of the resort hotel studies that IT did, I'm assuming there'll be a good amount of those resort hotels that did have those additional amenities, such as pool areas with day passes. There's a lot of resort hotels all over the country that do have those type of amenities. So it's safe to say that when they did the studies of those resort hotels, they didn't exclude those people that are coming in to just visit the pool area.
Is there a separate entry in the ITE trip manual that you could refer to for day pass use. So because of that, we can conclude that the resort hotel accounts for day pass use because it's distinguished from the
Regular.
hotel use?
Yes.
Is that what your testimony is?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
No,
Okay. We're gonna take a break.
Yeah, I have a question. You have 400 excess parking spaces in this parking garage?
200,
200 excess?
yes.
Okay, and so that's intended to serve as a park and ride for the beach, or what?
Can be, yeah. I mean, we're gonna have Lee Tran at the front. We're gonna have, and that's kind of the concept, is working with Lee Tran. When they come to this facility, we have those spaces, so the people coming to the beach anyway will come park here and then just not go across the bridge.
Okay, so in theory.
In theory,
daytime
it's-
People would use the same spaces,
Yes,
and then there would be less spaces available for people who might be using it for park and ride. So those trips are separately and additionally subsumed in that use, arguably.
can be.
They're gonna be using the parking.
Yeah.
They're not coming on foot,
No.
right?
No, unless the residents are coming up on their bicycle. And just to go back to that resort use, just that I can testify on, Margaritaville does it, Hyatt does it, Twin Waters does it. I mean, pretty much every resort hotel that I know in Southwest Florida has that. And it's usually at a time like the summertime when you have less traffic. You control it as a hotel operator, that if you're full, you don't have day passes. If you're less, you have people come use the facilities.
Okay, Sharam, do you have any other questions you would like him to address?
no, ma'am. I'm gonna discuss the liquor license for the downstairs for the playground area, but
During your
during
presentation?
my presentation.
Okay,
I don't have
thank
a
you.
question about it.
Well, then I will take a break now why don't we resume at 10:40?
Okay.
building that was tiny building here.
Okay,
Now,
before we go to staff's presentation, I have a question of Jim. Okay, can we quiet down? Thank you for your cooperation. I just remembered there was a question I wanted to ask you regarding the timing of this project's improvements to Main Street. You had testified that the improvements had to go from San Carlos to Oak. And what is the timing of that? Can you clarify that for me?
For the record again, James Inc. The timing of that is when we have to do another development order to pick up the rest of the facility. When we do that, there will be a companion LDO that does Main Street. So they will happen simultaneously. The Main Street will be done before the facility opens up.
Okay, so the existing development order that you have,
It's for the Marina. We don't have to do it we don't have to upgrade Main Street for the existing Marina, the existing development order.
all right, so then it's the next phase where you build this boat barn building, multi-use building.
The rest of the multi-use building.
Right, that'll trigger,
Correct. And our understanding, it's not real clear on the zoning record, but our understanding and our plan is Main Street will be done before we open for business on the hotel. They'll happen simultaneously.
okay. And then what is the timing of the state's improvements to San Carlos Boulevard?
That I don't know. I researched it and I tried to find out, and they say it's imminent. Some of my work on the beach is the beach council is saying it's imminent, but I can't find, or I did not get any clarification from FDOT of what that is. If you would like, I'll still continue that over the next couple days and I'll find out and I can forward it to the hearing examiner's office for backup.
Okay, thank you. I thought it was already underway, so,
No, it's, I don't know if the funding is totally in place. Construction plans are done.
that must have been what I was.
It's been bid. I mean, it's been around since 2020, 2018.
Jim Yuri might answer that.
Oh.
Yuri may
might
have
know.
information.
Yeah, he's the traffic guy.
Yeah, it's my understanding, for the record, Yuri Baika with Tier Transportation, that the construction is set to begin in August of this year, actually, for those improvements.
August 2024.
August 2024.
And as part of that improvement package will be the signalization of Main Street.
Right, Main Street, yep. As well as improvements near the Bonita, next to the Times Square, which will also include improvements to the bridge in terms of that you now have 2 inbound lanes going towards Fort Myers Beach and 1 outbound lane. As of right now, it's just 1 in, 1 out.
Right.
They're gonna improve that you have 2 inbound lanes to go towards Fort Myers Beach instead.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm ready for staff's presentation. And Jim, I'll be needing a paper copy of your PowerPoint presentation.
I'm sorry, I have it.
This is applicant's Exhibit 1.
That's what happens when you're late, you forget a few things.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. Shuramadam Chiam from the County Zoning. My resume is on file. I was recognized as expert in zoning and planning. I would like to be recognized as such at this time.
Yes, please proceed.
Thank you.
I can't hear him at all.
Okay, can you just you don't have to.
Don't
move the
touch microphone.
Just
I know.
step closer to
Okay,
it.
sorry. Well, this is an amendment, not a rezoning. This is an amendment to an existing approved plant development. They are asking for 6 different changes to the plant development. And these are the ones we are reviewing, and these are the ones that are subject of this hearing. We are not relitigating the project that went to the board, to the court, mediation, and the governor and the cabinet. So we are reviewing these. Basically, they want to add multifamily to townhouse tract. The reason for it is for us, townhomes are vertical. Multifamily can be horizontal. Basically, the same number of units, same building mass. Is just what you call it. Number two, they want to add hotel, motel to the list of permitted uses, to the schedule of uses. It says 55 dwelling units or 240 hotel rooms. It's either or. And they are changing the master concept plan to increase the consumption area on the rooftop. They are basically showing the real design of the townhome master or mixed or multifamily tracts on the master concept plan. When they did the original master concept plan, they didn't have any design, so they just showed kind of wiggly lines as the footprint of the building. Now they have a better, more advanced design, and they want to show that. They are increasing the height of the both building from 70 to 75. That is basically they are putting railing around it, and that adds to the height because they want to use it as, for the lazy river and all the activities on the rooftop. And they are doing minor changes to the master concept plan, like keeping the old building that they already have, and it's going to be that Harbour master ship store. These are the only uses to this approved project, and these are the only uses that we are reviewing. And beside that, I think it was this week or end of last week, we received the drawings for the rooftop and the playground area, which was a little bit different than the master concept plan. And the 48-hour letter also mentioned the consumption on premises for the playground area. Well, in staff's opinion, playing kids and alcohols don't mix. There's a reason our code says playground or places serving alcoholic beverages have to be 500 feet away from playgrounds. They don't want a 500 feet, they don't want a 0, they want to mix. And in our opinion, like children's playground, monkey bars and all, and slides, do not mix with parents sitting there and getting drunk or having a drink. I understand it's good for business, but it's a major liability also. With parents being distracted while kids are hanging upside down. That's the reason staff cannot support the request for COP on the ground level, in the playground area. I understand that some other places they may have it. I don't know. I heard this morning, but I don't, in our opinion, it's not good planning to mix those two uses, playing kids and alcohol together. With that said, they are not really changing much. Yes, they are changing from condos to hotel rooms. And as Mr. Inc said, that decreases the density, but increases the intensity. So I just wanted to make sure that he mentioned the decrease in density, but did not mention increase in intensity, that we have it on the record. And according to our traffic engineer review, basically 225 hotel rooms would have been neutral when it comes to traffic. So they are just increasing this by a little bit more. That will add a little bit more trips to the road. And San Carlos Boulevard functions at level of service F. However, we don't have concurrency anymore. State basically took this away from us in 2006, 2007. I don't know, remember exactly when, for us to review for concurrency when it comes to
2011.
2011. Thank you. So that's the reason if state didn't have that statute precluding us from using that, we could not have recommended approval. But the way it is today, it was a constrained road to begin with.
You're saying the additional 25 units
Well,
or 15 units?
well, it's a failing road. It's a level of service F. And
Right, but you said it was trip neutral at 225.
25,
So they're asking for 240.
correct.
So you would not recommend the additional 20 units or what have you because of that, but you're barred because the law does not permit you to look at that. Is that the point you're trying to make?
That is the point, but I don't know if the amount of traffic they're adding, it's that significant. 15-room hotel difference, it's not that big that to make any difference really on traffic in the area.
Okay.
And they mentioned about the rooftop place amenities that people, they can have day passes. And Yuri said that he assumes that hotels, resort hotels, they include that. But I'm not that good with assuming things.
Well, what would you
Just one-
classify it as under the ITE if you were to treat it as a separate use?
Recreational, commercial. It's like having a mini golf course or having,
So you would treat it as a separate commercial use even though it's an amenity for the hotel guests?
well, hotel guests, they have their own pool. They have a big pool. This was sent to us end of last week or this past Monday, a few days ago. I'm not positive that it's not going to add traffic.
Okay, so circling back to how you started this argument, you have no control because the state has preempted your
Correct.
ability to make traffic a determinant factor. So what are you telling me here?
Well, we still require a traffic impact statement. And the traffic impact statement, I'm not sure is 100% correct with
And
added use. I don't know if it's gonna stop them from building, but
did the county DOT reviewer of the trips raise this?
no, because this came along like 3 days ago. They sent this to us 3 days ago. It was not part of the application.
So are you asking for a continuance of the hearing so it can be reevaluated?
I don't know. I'm asking for help to figure this out because I was hoping that their traffic
Well,
engineer.
I need to know what staff's position.
Well,
is.
staff
I can't make that leap, sir.
Well, I was hoping that the expert would say something, but he said, I assume. And
Right.
I need,
Base that
I need
on-
our transportation department to look at it. And before we finalize things, before we close this hearing.
Okay, so applicant, what I'm hearing from staff is that they cannot recommend approval for your day pass use, which I don't even know if that's a use on the use table. So, I mean, I don't really know what to do with that other than they're not going to recommend approval of that request absent further review by DOT. So you have a couple of options. We can go forward with this hearing, and you can eliminate that use now, and then you can add it back administratively if it turns out that DOT concludes that the resort numbers account for that type of use, or we can continue the hearing.
Can I ask staff a little bit long-winded question?
Sure.
In the IT manual, which you're familiar with, but I know you're not an expert, we have different uses such as motel, business hotel, all suites hotel, and regular hotel, but we also have land use 330 that's called a resort hotel. And I'm reading the description that's in the ITE. It says a resort hotel is similar to a hotel in that it provides sleeping accommodations, full-service restaurant, cocktail lounges, retail shops, and guest services. The primary difference is that a resort hotel caters to the tourist and vacation industry, often providing a wide variety of recreational facilities and programs. So my question to you is, isn't this consistent with 330 with a wide variety of recreational facilities and programs?
Well, my question is, this wide variety of recreational services is reserved for the hotel guests or to the general public? That is the issue that I'm struggling with.
And again, well, I really not sure where to go with this other than factually. We've listed some, and there's a lot of, it's a very commonplace in a resort hotel to have day passes in slow periods of time. I mean, that's a common use. And if that's not an allowable use, then maybe code enforcement should go visit all our resort hotels in Lee County and say, you can't have day passes.
We are talking about this project, not all the hotels in the county. I mean, recreational facilities, commercial is a use.
Well, they have that as a permitted use
Yes, but-
in the mixed-use building.
Yes.
It's recreational facilities, groups 1 and 2, and that's commercial.
I agree with that. They have the use. Is what they don't have is their TIS mentioned in it that they are going to have that use. They have lots of uses that they are in here, but they are not traffic generating uses. But this one may be traffic generating, which I may be wrong. I'm not a traffic engineer,
I'm
but
confused because they're already asking for the use that you're asking to be treated separately from the hotel. So the traffic studies must account for potential trips generated from that. So I'm trying to figure out what would they analyze exactly?
well, until last week, they had a hotel with hotel pool and stuff. Now, all of a sudden, they have a hotel with rooftop lazy river and other activities that.
Which they didn't even have to show that detail.
We
Well,
did not
they-
have to
well,
show
it
that.
is open to the general public now. It is not for hotel guests. And I didn't think about it until he said day passes. And that's when I start thinking about, like, day passes, that means additional cars coming.
Madam Examiner, could you allow Yuri as our traffic expert and the only traffic expert in the room to provide input on this dilemma?
Yes, I would, but what I'd like to do first was allow Mr. Badamshin to finish his presentation, and then that be part of your questioning clarification following his presentation, so that we don't have it going back and forth.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm hearing right now is staff recommends approval of the request, no approval of the COP at the playground, and no approval of this day pass commercial recreational use, even though that's approved use on the schedule of uses. That's where they stand right now,
Yes, I agree.
with a concern that perhaps it wasn't analyzed as part of the traffic. That's where he stands right now, so we're gonna let him finish, and then we're gonna come back to you to ask questions and allow for clarification for the planner.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Shram?
Well, that's basically the extent of my presentation. Otherwise, they are in full compliance with the requirements of the Lee Plan and Land Development Code. If their traffic experts can testify that this will not increase the traffic, that's fine. I just want a clarification.
You wanted to raise it.
I'm just raising the issue that something that they didn't plan until 3-4 days before the public hearing. And I just want to make sure that we are not approving something that is going to have negative impact.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? This is when we can question?
This is when you can question him.
What I want to do is we're going to have Yuri give his professional opinion as a traffic engineer, and then ask Sharam if he's in agreement or disagreement with the statement that Yuri's going to provide.
Okay,
For the record, Yuri Baikal. Well, first, I want to take my initial testimony where I said an assumption that they included those type of uses. It's not it that I assumed that they included that in Land Use Code 330. Now that I have the printout of the actual ITE Land Use 330, I can confirm that they did include the recreational facilities, which also say, for example, golf courses, and other amenities. So when they did these studies, they included other recreational facilities, which is what this pool access is. And additionally, we analyzed 200 parking spaces in the garage as a public parking spaces. If those parking garages are full, we're not gonna have any users going to this facilities for the lagoon portion of the project or the pool amenities. So these parking spaces are full, we're not gonna have additional people coming in there. And we analyzed those parking spaces as an additional project traffic. And IT Land Use Code 330 clearly says it includes other recreational, wide variety of other recreational facilities, programs.
okay, thank you.
And
Oh, do you have more to say? I don't want to cut you off.
no, I'll also say that, we do multiple resort hotels all over Lee County, and we've never had to include as access to my experience working in Lee County, doing trip generation for these hotels, actually all over Florida. We never had to do a separate use or separate trip generation calculations for a day pass to a pool.
Okay, thank you. Sharam?
Well, he's a professional engineer. If he's testifying that that will not increase the traffic, I have to accept his presentation and his opinion.
All right, well, is the staff transportation reviewer available to,
Staff transportation reviewer is in a meeting until 11. That's
okay.
what I was trying to get him to come here, but
During your rebuttal, it'll be long past 11 by then. You can consult with him, and he can consult with Yuri, and the three of you can determine whether you're all on one page or you remain, divided on this issue.
okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank
you.
you.
Any other question?
No further questions.
Thank you. Members of the public, thank you for your patience. Now it's your turn. I'm going to start with the stack of papers that I've been provided for in this bin. If you've come later and you haven't filled one of these out yet, when I get to the bottom, I'll say, is there anyone else here that would like to speak? And you can come up and speak at that time.
We've got two people that have doctor's appointments. Could they go first?
Sure. Just tell me what your name is. Stand up.
Go ahead.
Good morning. Thanks for coming, sir. What's your name?
Henry Blakely.
Hmm?
Henry Blakely.
Henry Blakely?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have your sheet right here. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, Ms. Collins. Good to see you again. I'm here this morning mostly to convey my disgust with even thoughts about erecting a monster motel, hotel, tourist trap, Greedyville, whatever you want to call it, on our little residential island, right in our neighborhood. I started living on Oak Street in 1949. And I, along with my wife Sandy, we own our home there still, own our home now. as far as I know, none of our neighbors that I'm aware of want this thing on top of us. We are counting on you to slap them down on this one. Thank you kindly.
Thank you, sir. And who was the other person that needed to leave early?
Did you wanna go? No, you said, okay, never mind.
All right. First speaker I have here is Joanne Semmer. Good morning. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I got too many papers here, I'm sorry. Can I give you a picture to show you where I live?
Yes, please do. This will be a public exhibit, Semmer Exhibit 1.
Right there.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, my property is within 100 feet of the corner of Oak Street and Main Street.
So it's Oak Street on both sides?
Yes. On Caddy Corner, right?
I see that.
I'm sorry, thank you for being patient. I just want you to know I had a terrible time getting a copy of this document here. I called Sharam 5 times. He never answered his phone. I was downstairs. First, they gave me the 2020 document. And when I went to get it copied, I realized it wasn't the right one. Came back. And then we found another copy. The girls downstairs could not get it online. It wasn't available, even though it's advertised that you can get it. You can review a copy there. I've got the sheet that they mailed me. And I think that's terrible that they make it so hard for the public to access this information. But I'm still trying to find the master plan. Sharam, do you know where the master plan is?
Right there, and
Oh, this is it?
it's in your packet, yeah, you have a copy.
Okay,
in your packet.
all right. I haven't seen anything that says master plan,
Oh,
okay?
there's master plan, concept plan on the side.
Can we get a copy of the new one?
I don't
Because you
have
got,
it. This
you
is
got
the one that
this.
you have it. I don't have a new one.
Last one is additional dated May 28th, 2024 is what it says. And that's what was incorporated into the staff report. And
Okay.
there's no
Well,
changes.
I thought you said that you just received changes.
Those areas, the playground area,
Okay.
are,
Okay, first, on page 1, location, they list all the streets on Main Street and Seaside Drive, but they don't list the 2 Oak Street lots. So does that mean the 2 Oak Street lots are not included in this? Look at location.
Okay, we're going to make a note of the questions and they'll answer
Okay.
after all the public speaks.
On the background, it only goes up to the magistrate hearing, and then where the commissioners approved it. Then my brother and I sued them with the administrative law judge in Tallahassee, and they agreed with the 2 zoning hearings, Bellflowers and yours, that they could not meet hurricane evacuation. And then the applicants applied to the administrative commission, the governor and the cabinet, and they overturned the judge's decision. But some of the county information that was presented by the county attorney was wrong, and the governor did not allow me to speak in rebuttal. He only opened it up to attorneys. And I talked to Mr. Buckles, their attorney, who said, yes, I should have been able to speak, but he said they felt they got enough information, they wouldn't rehear the hearing. But I want you to know there's wrong information out there. Let's see. I got that one. First of all, we don't want the hotel. That's how many more parking spaces is that? The hotel, is that going to add? If they're going to take away 55, but then they're still going to have like 190 more rooms that are each going to require a car. We asked in the magistrate hearing how many parking spaces were they going to have total, and they would not tell us. They actually told us, go figure it out yourself. To this day, we don't know what the total parking count is. Jim, do you know what it is?
Okay, we're not.
Oh, I'm not allowed to ask?
Forth.
I'm
So
sorry.
you want to ask that? I'm going to ask the Jim, please
Okay.
make a note that you asked that.
Okay,
So
thank
when we
you.
go back for the parties, they will answer all the questions that are raised. So add that to the list. That's the second one.
And also, I live within 100 feet of it, and I'm against them enlarging the consumption on premises. Not only because of the drinking, they're all gonna drink and then drive down the road, but also the noise and the profanity that'll come out of there. And mixing children and drinking, just like Sharam said, that is not good. And, let's see. It says here on surrounding zoning and land use, it says, to the east, the property abuts a canal and a mobile home park, mobile home 2. That is totally wrong. That Oak Street is not all mobile home 2. There's different zoning designations. And also at least half of them are traditional built homes. Some of them are valued between $500 and $1 million apiece. They're not, it's not a mobile home park. It's wrong information. And then my side of Oak Street, we're all traditionally built homes. There's not one mobile home. Right now there's an RV because of the hurricane on one lot. But otherwise, everyone went through the hurricane and we're all traditionally built homes. So that information is wrong. And again, on Lee Plan, it's, Sharam talks about it being mobile, it's all mobile home parks, and that is wrong. There's a traditional home right across the property by Summer Electric, and then Summer Electric has a home upstairs. And then there's units. They're all traditionally built units that they rent out, little cottages. And then there's my street, which is all homes. Then there's Oak Street, and that's half of them are homes, half are mobile homes. And now they're being turned into regular homes. The ones that were destroyed, they're building homes. At Sharam, well, it sounds like the county staff is, just doesn't like mobile homes. That's not right. And then it says further to the east on Main Street, there is an approved development similar in nature, density, intensity, and height to this proposed development. And you're talking about the one at the end of Main Street, which is where Salty Sam's is. I worked on that project, and I want you to know they were held to resolution number 78-3-16, and it says, no additional multifamily zoning on Estero or San Carlos Island.
Madam Hearing Examiner, that resolution was repealed. It's no longer.
So I don't understand why they were held to that resolution, but Compass Rose, Bay Harbor, Marina Village was not.
Okay, thank you.
And they're still held to it today. And I think it's ridiculous where we're in a hurricane high hazard area. I was there on Main Street during the hurricane. We had 12 feet of water in the driveway. I watched the shrimp boats go by. It's just ridiculous. And here, the county's going to allow them to pay a fee? Pay a fee? Instead of hurricane evacuation? I mean, how much is a child's life worth? How much is a person's life worth? Do you figure it out by how old they are? How much they weigh? How do you determine what the fee's going to be? And again, on page 4 of 5, it brings up the ebb tide mixed-use plan development again. But the staff says the approved ebb tide mixed-use plan development to the east contains building heights in excess of what is proposed for this development. The area was developed in the 1950s and 60s and is ripe for redevelopment due to its proximity to water. The area is better suited for tourism-related businesses. This project may be the catalyst and the area needs for redevelopment. Why would you even say that? You don't live there. You didn't even talk to anybody. Staff has refused for 6 years to come and meet with the residents of San Carlos Island. 6 years they have refused to meet with us. When Sandelli got appointed, he has not met with us. I've asked him 4 different times. He has refused. And I don't understand why the staff won't meet with us to hear what we want. The residents who live there, who pay taxes and vote. Corporations don't vote, people vote. And then it says, impact on the site's environmental conditions. They had punched a hole through their seawall, and they had a pipe there dumping dewatering, nasty, contaminated water into the canal. And we have pictures of it. Captain Rowland there, he took pictures of it. And when I talked to Jim Inc. the other day, I told him about it, and I said, I looked. There's no county permits, there's no state DEP permits, there's no Army Corps permits. It's violating the Clean Water Act. And you know what? The other day, they took the pipe out of the seawall. But they have code violations. They put a fence up without a permit. The fence is extending into the right-of-way of Oak Street. They actually punctured our drinking water. We were without drinking water for all afternoon. There were 3 county trucks there to repair it. And you know what? There's no record of it at the county. I made three code enforcement violation complaints. Now 4 on the fence, and also they put a gate across the right-of-way of Seaside Drive, which is a county road. Here's a copy of the road dedication. It was called Otsego Drive, and now it's Seaside Drive. It was given in 1946. And to this day, this morning when I went by, the gates are still there, and no trespassing sign is there. And we argued this about 5 years ago when they put a gate up and the county made them take it down. But the county has had this for over a year. Now I understand, well, first, the code enforcement violations were missing off the computer, off the website. And then a woman from code enforcement called me, and she put 2 of them back up on the fence. And whenever I called in the fence, I called in the gate, but they wouldn't put the gate information on there. And I went downstairs and I asked them, why aren't you putting the gate? That's a separate violation. And they said, oh no, it goes with the fence, right? And then I called about a dewatering permit. They were dewatering into the canal, and this was November 23, and I was told there wasn't any record of my complaint,
Okay, Ms. Summer,
but I have it.
this information is not relevant to the issues I have to look at in this request. Well,
And code enforcement.
I am confined to the review criteria set. forth
Okay, I'm sorry.
in the code. So
I'm mad, I'm sorry.
focus your comments on that. Is this, all this goes together, right?
Those are 3 different code enforcement violations that they don't have records of. They said they didn't appear. And it just shows that it shows Lee County staff is showing favoritism. But it says it will not adversely affect environmentally critical or sensitive areas and the natural resources. All their drainage, I understand, and some of the capacity for holding water is going to be in the canal. And that all leads directly into the Estero Bay Aquatic Reserve. And it says the approved and proposed mix of uses is appropriate in the proposed location. It is not. And it does not preserve and promote the general intent of the LDC to protect the public health and safety and welfare. And again, it talks about the 4-page master concept plan. I'm still looking for it.
Gave it to you.
Sounds like she was maybe given a copy without the attachments.
No, she had 150 pages or something
Okay.
like that.
I've been through it 4 or 5 times. I haven't found it yet. And it says part of the overall development order plan submitted for approval, the project shall not be developed without marina dry storage uses substantially in compliance with the approved master concept plan. I worked on the original permit. And I know they talked about a Lee Trans stop at their location, but last time we had our zoning hearings, Lee Trans said they would not come down Main Street. So I don't know if that's changed, but as far as I know, they won't go down side streets, only the main road. And again, the alcohol, I don't want them to be allowed to have alcohol anywhere else than what they're already approved. When I talked to Jim Inc., I understood that he wanted alcohol to be able to be drunk anywhere on the 7 acres. Maybe I misunderstood him, but that's what I heard. So if you can question him and find out if that's what it
We'll
means.
clarify that when we go back to the.
Yes,
board.
thank you. And then on attachment E, Lee County, it's a memo on Department of Transportation. They're going to generate 3,796 car trips a day on San Carlos Boulevard and Main Street. We're a 2-lane road at a dead end. When the Key West Express gets out, it backs up for a half an hour. I mean, how are we going to get ambulances and fire trucks down there?
I'm only permitted to focus on the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not on what's already been approved.
Okay. Well, isn't that the new numbers with the hotel?
Yeah, actually an overall reduction in trip generation for the project with the hotel rather than the single family.
But that doesn't make any sense.
But peak hour is going to increase by 26 cars.
If you have 55 units and you're going to 240, 55 would have 55 cars, 240 would have 240 cars, correct? So how could it be less?
There are formulas based on data they collect from resort
Well,
hotels.
I'm going to challenge that. I have a son-in-law who's a head traffic engineer in the state. I'll ask him. And it says here, the proposed project is not anticipated to adversely affect the surrounding roadway system. I don't believe that. And here on page 1 of the transportation consultants, they're saying that the barn and the storage units were destroyed by Hurricane Ian. They were not. There was nothing wrong with them. We had a hurricane in, Wilma. It took the night watchman's apartment off the top of the storage, but it was fine. And one pole barn went over at the Marina because they didn't tie down the forklift to it, but it was fine. And then they were demolished. And if you go onto the Lee County site, you can get their demolition permits. And it was 2006. It wasn't Ian. I was there. After Wilma, there's pictures of me in the Associated Press. My brother and my nephew and I went down the road and checked all the properties out to make sure nobody was there hurt. And I question transportation engineers on page 2. What does Corkscrew Road have to do with us? Again, the 200 public parking spaces, we would like to know what the total count is on parking spaces on the whole project. And it says here on page 6 of the transportation report, the public parking spaces are being proposed on this site as a public benefit to ease the parking demand during peak season on Fort Myers Beach. And I did not bring it, I'm sorry, but we have a CRA plan, which is now a CRC plan, that says San Carlos Island does not want to become a parking lot for Estero Island. I'm almost done. I still have not found the master concept plan.
We'll get the master concept plan up at least on the aerial here.
Oh, I know what else is missing on the application. You're missing documents on the application. That's not 5 pages. They're missing the signature page on the application, And they're missing, the property owner's list is missing off the application, and the property owner's map is missing on the application. So the application is not complete. And I've asked Sharon for that. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I asked for those documents and I have not been given them. Oh, and also in the application, I think you've got that address 1195, and LIPA doesn't recognize that address. Yeah, there's a discrepancy on the addresses, so how can you consider it if the addresses don't match anything? And when I was asking for the plan originally, this is where I paid for the copies that turned out to be the wrong document. And I think that's it for right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Speaker, Deborah Macer.
And that's only 4. There's 5 pages.
Good morning, thank you for coming.
Good morning. I'm Deborah Macer, and I represent Gulf Cove Incorporated. I'm secretary of the Gulf Cove Incorporated, which is at the corner of the southeast corner of Main and San Carlos Boulevard. We are a 55 and older community. We have 60 residences in there.
Okay, can we hold on a second? Can we get an aerial up, please?
This is the aerial.
Yeah. Move,
Okay, well,
move
you
it
need
over
to
San
zoom it
Carlos.
out. You need
Move it
to.
out.
Okay, will you just show me where you are there? Just so that I can get a picture in my mind?
Right here.
All right,
Needs to open up a little more.
got it. All right, so you're representing that community?
I am. I'm secretary of the board, and we have a lot of questions regarding the improvements on pretty much everything. So,
Okay, just so that you understand, I want you to ask all your questions.
I will.
I'm going to ask the parties to make a note of those questions.
Yes, ma'am.
And then after we close public input, they're on.
Okay. So one being the sewer system. He had made a comment that the sewer system was gravity flow. There is a pumping station on Main Street west of San Carlos. And every time we get heavy rain, they close that pumping station down and the sewage backs up into our park and through all of the sewer manholes in the area closest to the pumping station. So if we have a 240 unit hotel motel plus another not the townhouse, but the flats, will add a lot more impetus or a lot more input into that sewer system, and it can handle what it has currently if we have a heavy rainfall. When they talk of improving Main Street or rebuilding Main Street, I would like to know how many lanes that improvement will include, and if it is more than the 2 lanes currently, where will the new property be taken from? Will it be taken from Gulf Cove, or across the street from Sunnyland, or both? Regarding the evacuation, I agree with Ms. Semmer. We do have issues with traffic flow on this island because not only will we have our neighborhoods, everything from Estero Island comes our way or goes through Bonita, but I would think more our way since it's the closest to the interstate. So you have all the people evacuating from Estero Island, San Carlos Island residents, and then we'll have, according to him, another hotel close to the other end of the island at Buttonwood, plus his unit. I don't see how the traffic flow will be able to get off safely and in a timely manner. we we are rated, zoned an MH2, mobile home park, since Ian, and I don't know if everyone is aware, when the shrimp boats came, they landed in our home. We had 11 shrimp boats come in and totally destroy our park. We didn't have the last boat leave until April a year ago. So we've been slowly making our comeback. We have 5 owners that have planned to elevate their homes. 2 of them already in permitting. 2 of them have to wait until we get our seawall repaired because they are along the seawall. We have a contract. Our seawall is scheduled to be started July the 20th. So we do have things ongoing. We also lost our dock, and it's coming back as well. He was saying that once the parking garage is full, whenever they have for the day pass people, then they won't have any more traffic oncoming to go in to park. But I disagree with that, because if the parking garage is full, then people coming in won't know until they get there to discover that it is full. There will still be the same amount of traffic. Just because the garage is full does not mean traffic will halt looking for parking on that unit. And I currently would like the consumption to stay in the area that it's already been approved. I do not want it going out past where the current approval is allowing. And I think that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Stacy Macer.
I just wanted to add one thing to what my wife said there. Because of our entrance to our park, adding this extra traffic to this is going to be a problem for us. We won't be able to use our entrance down there if they put in a light down there. Not only do you have Fisherman's Wharf Drive coming in there right at the light that they said in the past they would never do because of how close we are to the bridge. That cuts off our entrance to the park and our exit to the park, which is farther down. If the traffic backs up, we can't get in and out. So this is a big deal to us, whether or not they add more traffic to that main street. It's a big deal to us.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Matt Hansen.
Morning, Matt Hansen. Just speaking today to preserve my right to speak at a commissioner's hearing.
Okay, you won't be able to speak unless you make actual remarks on the record.
Okay, well, I don't have any comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, Kathy, I think I'm going to mispronounce your last name. Dzat? D-Z-I-A-T? How about Michael, same last name? Nicholas White? Good morning, thank you.
Morning, my name is Nicholas White. I've been a resident of San Carlos Island for 20 years. Excuse me. And I've been an active participant in trying to defeat this development for 10 years. I've attended dozens of meetings. I wrote letters. I put a group together, tried to get people to write letters. I realize that I probably have less than no chance of defeating it, but I would like to make a couple points because I know you are responsible for the integrity, really, of this system. The code enforcement and rezoning. It has gotten harder to get the information on permits, on zoning cases. You gotta log into this, log into that. It's confusing, it doesn't work well. And my biggest problem with being here today is I believe this whole thing should have had to have been resubmitted from the ground up. This isn't a minor change. Mr. Ink portrayed this as a minor change. It's not a minor change. They're trying to plunk down another Margaritaville on Emily Lane and calling it a minor change to what was a marina, some condos. It's obscene, some of the things we're approving. These townhouses, tight together, 49 feet high, 0 feet back from the canal, 5 feet from the street. I live on Emily Lane. I own my property. Would they allow me to build a 49-foot high house and right up to the canal? No. And there's reasons for the setbacks. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. And after 10 years, I am so tired of land developers having more property rights than private citizens. We have never discussed the property rights of the people that live down there, and ma'am, there are hundreds of us. Hundreds of us. And people are ruining our island and our style of life. My wife and I moved to where we did on Emily Lane on San Carlos Island after spending an entire winter in an RV cruising the entire state of Florida. And when we arrived there, we said, this is it. This is home. We bought a lot. We put 40% of our net worth into buying that lot. And now somebody's going to have that. These traffic studies are bogus. They are bogus. I have sat on San Carlos Island enough times to be absolutely certain of it. And why would we think it makes sense to have something we go, well, it's already completely no good, so we're going to put some more traffic on it, and that's okay because it's already no good. I've heard that over and over and over for these 10 years.
Legislature, you're singing my song. You're singing to the people here.
I'll tell you, you may not know this, but that hearing before the governor up in Tallahassee and the cabinet was a complete travesty. I did not go. I maybe should have, but after the speakers and private citizens, no matter how much research you've done, no matter how long how much of your time you've invested in getting facts, you get a couple minutes to talk. The same down at our fine commissioner hearings. But after it was all done and it was time to vote, the governor looked at the cabinet and he said, we're supposed to vote in favor of this, right? And they said, yeah, this was, okay, all those in favor? So, in other words, it was all decided ahead of time. And am I supposed to feel good about our government and what people are doing to the state of Florida and Lee County with bogus benefits for land developers? I do not feel good. And if there's any subsection X, Y, Z that you can find to turn this down, I'm asking you to please do so. I also want to say that one of the developers has taken control of the land across the street from this And he sells boats. I think he may manufacture boats. I don't know, but he's got control of the whole boat yard right straight across the street. And I have visions of forklifts and what is called a travel lift that hauls large boats around, going back and forth across Main Street. And I would like a condition put on approval that says no forklifts or travel lifts may be operated on Main Street. And that's all I have to say this morning. Thank you very much.
Sir. Lori Abate. Good morning, thank you for coming.
Good morning, thank you. It's Lori Abate, but that's okay. Can I ask for this to be zoomed in a little bit? I'm also a resident of Gulf Cove, and one of the residents that will be in permitting as soon as the seawall is finished. So what you see is our community right there. And right along San Carlos is Fisherman Wharf. So I'm sorry, you're gonna have to bring it down so we can see where Main Street is. So if somebody puts a stoplight and then we have the big monstrosity that's being built there with 200 parking lot garage right there on the corner. So we have Fisherman Wharf, who has a lot of traffic from Dock Fords, Dixie Fish, Bonita Bills, and there is a marina down at the end, as well as a marina that butts up next to our community. So there is a ton of traffic that, and I say a ton, it's quite a bit for that one little one-way street. And then you have Main Street, which is a two-lane road that when, and I believe somebody else said it, backs up even with a little bit of traffic from the pirate ship that goes out at sunset, or we have the Key West Express. This street cannot handle lots of traffic. For us to come in and out of our community, it takes us time to exit our community because we have to wait for all the traffic coming off the bridge, going on the bridge, and crossing or coming out of Main Street. So we have to filter into Main Street. So adding that amount of traffic on this little road, I don't think you can get a traffic consultant or engineer can come in and say, yes, that community or that street can handle that much traffic. But if you stand on the street, if you're physically there on that street and watch the traffic pattern and watch the backup, and even at off hours, as they're saying, off hours, that's when, a lot of the community comes off some of the, like the Key West Express or down from Perry Key. So this street does get more traffic than it can already handle. So that's one of my rebuttals to the parking structure and its ability to not have any additional traffic issues. It will, because if you have people coming to use the hotel for a day pass or coming to use a hotel to stay there, it does add more traffic to this little street, and it already cannot handle that. As far as, I have a question for Mr. Inc. Who paid for Yuri's study? Did you pay for Yuri's study of the traffic pattern?
In response to that.
That's my question for him when he responds.
Make a note.
Please, thank you. Let's see, the minor change that he also refers to, that is not minor when it comes to this little island. It's a huge change from 55 units to 240. It will negatively impact our little island here, and especially this little corner that already has issues with traffic and people and usage. Not to mention that down at the end is Salty Sam's, and they're a marina, so we have traffic for people coming to use their boats and their restaurant Parakeet. So we have big boats that come down this road to dock or to use their ramps. And that's where also the race comes and starts. They are the loaders of the race boats as well. So we do get traffic, and more traffic than they want you to believe that's on there. So I just want the minor change to be for you to not approve that, because it is already going to, what they have there is already going to impact us negatively. Townhome setbacks. I'd like to know, as a question for Mr. Inc., what the setbacks are. I am one of those that is going to build, and I am right on the seawall. And
So show me where you live. Where's your place?
I am right here.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm one of these that's going to be building right here.
All right.
I'm right there. Actually, I'm right here. But so I have a 40 by 40 lot, and my setback is 5 feet on each side. So I'm down to 30 by 30. And my permits that are going to go through are going to be taking like months. And so the permitting for all of his increase in size or his request, I feel like it's being shoved through and without thinking about, you know, all the other people who have to go through the permitting process and have to deal with some of the time restraints that, you know, we have to go from one person in the permitting, then it goes to another. But yet they can just come in and say, okay, we'd like to have this minor change of 55 units to 240 in front of you. And it's like, okay, we have to, you know, let's decide right here whether or not that can go through. So I think it's a frustration that they already got approved for what they got, and they're trying to ask for more when we have such a hard time getting what we are asking for as in building in our little area. So in conclusion, I guess I'm saying that a lot of their requests will impact us as a small little community, and this little island is a small community. And I think we are all asking for you to think about the little people instead of this big corporation. We all are trying to build back, and I don't think building back bigger is in the best is best for our community. So, thank you. That's all I have to say. That was enough.
That was the last of the sheets that I had, but if you didn't get a chance to fill out a public participation form and would like to speak, I'd ask you to come forward now. No one? Okay, I'm going to close public input. We're going to go back to the parties, but we're going to take a break. I think there's going to be a lot more testimony after this point, so I think what I'd like to do is take a lunch break and resume at 1:15.
Super.
And we'll pick up with staff and applicants' clarifications and answers to questions raised. I would like a more detailed presentation from transportation people regarding how the ITE manual works, what's that data based on, how they distinguish between uses. I think the public would benefit from a better understanding of that and respond to questions that were raised. Thank you.